Hello everyone! In the previous video, you have learned about the importance and areas of statistics. Also, you have learned that when someone does a research, the population of study must be clearly defined. Now, let us shift our discussion on the types of data. Data are integral part of a research study. A researcher must be able to know information by collecting data. Furthermore, a researcher must be able to align the survey questions with the needed data for research. This is to ensure that the statistical analysis would be clear, credible, and reliable. By definition, data are facts and statistics that are collected together for reference or analysis. There are a number of ways of collecting or gathering data. First, we can obtain data already published by governmental, industrial, or individual sources. We get data from health agencies, hospitals, companies, and industries, and as well as survey firms. Second, in particular, scientists would conduct experiments to get measurements from a specimen. In humanities, psychologists and those studying behavioral science also do experimentation. Third, which is the most common data gathering method, is to conduct a survey or an interview. Fourth, data can be collected by making observations. This is done by people in the teaching field, academe, and also people in sports. Other data gathering methods would be to conduct a case study. This is done by political scientists, lawyers, and those in legal management. Now, there are two sources of data. Data collectors, those collecting data firsthand, and the second one are data compilers. Data collectors are labeled primary sources, while data compilers are referred as secondary sources. There are different types of data. That's why statisticians develop surveys to deal with a variety of random variables. Now, these variables may yield categorical or numerical values. The data, which are the observed outcomes of these random variables, will virtually always differ from item to item or person to person, since no two things are exactly alike. The first type of data is categorical or qualitative data. This type yields categorical responses such as yes or no answers, or it answers the questions what flavor of ice cream would you pick, or what is your favorite pet. The second type of data is numerical or quantitative data. This type answers the questions how many, how much, or what is the amount. Examples of this type of data would be delivery time in minutes or temperature. Quantitative variables could either be discrete or continuous. Discrete quantitative variables produce numerical responses that arise from a counting process. So it answers the question, how many? For continuous quantitative variables, it produces numerical responses that arise from a measuring process. For example, how long, how fast, how heavy. Other examples of qualitative data or categorical data are as follows. First, we have gender, wherein the categories are male and female. Color, it could be red, blue, yellow. Cell phone brand, it could be Apple or Samsung. Year level, it could be first year, second year, and so on. Marital status, it could be single, married. Position in a company, it could be president, vice president, CEO, or COO. Now, there may be some categorical variables which are numerical in form but are considered categorical data. So these are ID numbers, cell phone numbers, telephone numbers, SSS numbers, tax identification numbers. So these are numerical in form, but these numbers are used only as categories. Other examples of discrete quantitative variables would be number of bottles, number of pages in a book, number of friends in Facebook, and number of pets. These variables would yield responses like 0, 1, 2, etc. because it answers the questions how many. For continuous quantitative variables, examples would be height, weight, and intelligence quotient because these are being measured. Now, monetary values like monthly sales are considered continuous quantitative because it answers the question how much. Now, also, age is considered continuous quantitative because age is dependent on time and time is being measured. Now, let us consider again the research titles you've encountered in the previous video. But this time, let us identify the variables of interest. In the first research title, the variable of interest is allowance. In the second one, it is term break getaways. In the third one, it's telecommunications provider preference. And in the fourth one, we have two variables of interest. These are entrance exam scores and first term average. Other than classifying variables as qualitative or quantitative, there is another way of classifying variables, and this time it is about its level of measurement, levels or scales of measurement. There are four levels, namely nominal, ordinal, interval, or ratio. The lowest level of data measurement is the nominal level. Many demographic questions in surveys results in data that are nominal because the questions are used for classification only. Numbers representing nominal level data can be used only to classify or categorize. Now, in the nominal data, ranks are non-existent between the values of the variables. The second level of measurement is ordinal. Ordinal measurement is higher than nominal level. It can be used to rank or order objects. Hence, rankings are existent between the values of the variables. As an illustration, a supervisor can rank three employees according to their abilities by 1, 2, or 3. However, the intervals between 1 and 2 or 2 and 3 cannot be determined in the ordinal level of measurement. Questionnaire Likert type scales are considered ordinal. For example, this computer tutorial is not helpful, somewhat helpful, moderately helpful, very helpful, extremely helpful. Observe that in the choices, rankings are existing or existent between them. Other examples of variables in the ordinal level of measurement would be year level, position in a company, educational attainment. For year level, second years are higher than first years. For position in a company, president is higher than the vice president, while for educational attainment, college graduate is higher than high school graduate. The third level of measurement is the interval level. In this level, the distances between consecutive numbers have meaning and the data are always numerical. This level has no absolute zero, which means that the zero measurement does not mean absence of the phenomenon. In other words, the number zero has a meaning in the interval level. In the interval level, the ratio between two measurements are not equal. For example, if the temperature in Manila is 20 degrees Celsius and in Riyadh, the temperature is 40 degrees Celsius, then it doesn't mean that Riyadh is twice as hot as Manila. Another example would be if a person says his happiness level is 4, while another person says his happiness level is 2, it doesn't mean that the former is twice as happier as the latter. In the interval level of measurement, the number 0 doesn't mean absence of the phenomenon. So for example, that the variable temperature is in the interval level of measurement because 0 degrees Celsius doesn't mean absence of temperature. Now, as explained in the previous slide, happiness level is an example of an interval level of measurement. The last level of measurement is the ratio level, and it is the highest among the four levels of measurement. It has the same properties as the interval level, but in the ratio level, it has an absolute zero or true zero, meaning zero means nothing or zero means absence of the phenomena. Also, the ratio between two measurements under this level is meaningful. This means that whenever we have the number 4 and the number 2, it means that 4 is really exactly twice as much as the number 2. Now, these are examples of variables under the ratio level: height, weight, number of bottles, and number of pans. Height is considered in the ratio level because if the height value is 0 meters, then it means that there's no height existing. For weight, if the weight is 0 pounds, then it means that there is no weight, and so on and so forth. Now you have learned about data, types of data, and the levels of measurements. In the next video, you will learn about the different sampling techniques.